Hello everybody, and welcome to a series I'm calling Path to Plat. The idea behind this series is that I, as an unranked player, am going to be attempting to learn to the point where I reach the rank of Platinum. There's going to be a lot of mistakes along the way, and that's exactly what I'm trying to showcase. And I'm hoping it'll be both informative and entertaining for those of you that watch. If you notice mistakes that I don't, feel free to let me know. It only helps me along my way. And if you don't understand plays I make or why a particular play was a mistake, go ahead and let me know as well, and I'll do my best to explain because I want to help any of you that are trying to go along the same journey along that journey as well. And if you just want to watch and be entertained, well, I'm very happy to have you here along the journey with me, and I hope you enjoy. All right, so for my first episode of Path to Plat, I was thinking that I'd get out of my own comfort zone and play a deck that is outside of an archetype that I usually play. I'm very much either aggro or control. Those are kind of the two ends of the spectrum for me, where I like to play a bunch of minions that I just swing, and my whole idea is get the enemy stuff out of the way and just swing. Versus control, which is kind of the same idea, just with a longer term of just clear your stuff out, stop you from doing anything to me while I do stuff to you. So this one is a burn deck, which really goes against that entire concept because while you do occasionally clear the enemy's board because you will have to, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have to make that difficult decision of, do I take this damage because the spell that I have that would clear it I need to use to attack them? And it really is that gamble of, is this going to be the difference between enough damage or not? Is their attack going to be enough damage on me to kill me? Is what I'm saving up going to be the difference between me winning or not? And that is a lesson that I definitely have yet to learn. So I think that it'll be a good first video for me to get out of my comfort zone with that. I'll go over the deck list real quick. I won't go over all the cards, just some of the more important ones in the deck. I have run a couple test games with this, so I'm not going into it completely unaware of exactly how it works. The only champion in here is Teemo, with his Poison Puff Calves. He's an okay card. I've only gotten him to level up a couple of times. That might be a me, how I'm playing the deck, but we'll see. He's definitely a very good turn 1 drop. I'm not sure if he continues to be good later in the game, but he definitely seems like if you can get at least 2 of those swings in with him, that he's pretty good, especially if you attack first. There's a lot of these attack, deal damage to the Nexus ones, along with Imperial Demolitionist. You have a lot of direct damage spells. Get Excited, Mystic Shot, Noxian Fervor, and then you got Use Cask Salesman, Aftershock, Decimate. So you got a lot that's designed to do damage directly to the Nexus, and it's just a matter of getting the correct cards. Definitely the biggest downside I've noticed to this deck, and exactly why you kind of have to win fast, and why it's about that trade-off, is there is no draw. There is no draw in this deck, so you run yourself out of cards very, very quickly. So without further ado on that, let's go ahead and get into some games with it. All right, so hopping straight into the first game here. This is fairly early on in the game. I was holding on to my Arachnoid Sentry, waiting for something to stun, but the mistake I made here was that I stunned it on my turn. And the thing is aggressive stuns like this in a burn deck tend not to be as useful, simply because what I'm doing is already going to hit them in the face. I care a lot less about the damage that my swings are going to do, and then opened him to do this with the Frostbite, which he was burning these, granted, but the thing is, there is a point later where this stun would have come in much more handy. I'm going to go ahead and hop to that. So here on the very next turn, you can see when Ashe attacks, she Frostbites, actually the Arachnoid Sentry, a little bit ironic there, but if this hadn't happened, the Ashe not only wouldn't be attacking, see, because I would have had the time to play the Arachnoid Sentry to stun her, so nothing would have been frostbitten, which means the only thing I would have had to contend with, given if my opponent played the exact same things, would have been this 4-3. I ended up winning this game anyway. I also burn one of my burn spells here for pretty much no reason. I did win this game, but it was a lot more to do with the fact that my opponent simply didn't have anything to answer what I was dishing out than because I straight up outplayed them. Okay, so this second game here is an absolute mess, and there were quite a few mistakes that I made. I'm going to try and include all of them, although some of them might be minor enough that I don't. The first one I do here is, without any hesitation, I immediately remove his Diana. I just waste a burn spell when he is still at 19 health. I just go ahead and I remove that. I think the justification in my head was that I was trying to protect my Teemo since she has Challenger. I wanted to make sure that she couldn't remove him, but that quickly becomes null and void, and I'll show exactly why in just a second. So on the very next turn, he plays this spell right here, which removes my Teemo from the board. Very cheap spell, one I already knew about, and it was kind of vain of me to think that a deck that is really built around being able to disable perceived threats on the opponent's side until they can realize their own combo is something that I would want to control in return. I should have just saved my burn, and I should have played as aggro as possible. I should have just let him kill the Teemo and then just dealt with it, because honestly, what is that 2 damage to me? All I did was end up wasting that 2 damage against his face. So this next one is one that I definitely knew I was going to experience as I went into playing this deck, and I talked about it a little bit in the deck list portion, is I block with my Saboteur here, which I shouldn't have done, and the reason for it being that it only blocks 2 damage from me. Yes, it does remove that from the board, but it only actually blocks 2 damage, and I was at 18 health. I easily could have taken that. All that was really necessary was for me to throw out my ephemeral casks as dummies to block and then to remove the overwhelm unit. Once I do that, though, I'm free to take that too, and then when it is my turn, once I attack with that unit, I get that 1 extra damage, and then it might just remove what it would have removed the last game. So yes, I take that 2 extra damage, but the thing is it's not always about the trade. Sometimes it's about actually getting in my damage, because even though I'm removing that 2 damage, sometimes getting the 1 damage in on him is worth more to me than me taking that 2 damage. I made a repeated mistake in some of the first games of underestimating the ballistic spot, because I play the Grenadier here instead of the ballistic spot, and here's why I think I should have played the bot instead. Number one, when I play the Grenadier, if I swing with him, which I do, it doesn't matter. Any of these 2/1s blocking him are going to kill him, and I get that 1 damage against their Nexus, and fine. That's, kind of what he's designed for. But the thing is, if I played the ballistic spot, I don't even need to swing with him. He's a 1/3. I could, and he would kill any of them if they block. So that's potentially another extra 1 damage or removal for the same price. And on the start of the next turn, I get that 1 damage, the ignition from him, and I can continue doing that if he isn't removed from the board. So I would have gotten much more value when I could have just played the Grenadier the next turn. So I really underestimated that card for quite a few games. This one I'm pretty disappointed in for a couple reasons. The first of which is that I completely fall into the exact same trap that he laid for me with my Teemo. The second of which is I do not pay attention at all to what my opponent has at his disposal. I play my ballistic spot without even counting his mana, realizing how easy it is for him to activate his Nightfall right here, give her that Challenger, and pull him in. I've essentially just wasted 2 mana and a card when I could have just played this after he attacked. There was absolutely no reason for me to have played this, because it couldn't have killed either of them, and I essentially just wasted that mana. And then after he attacks here, I still don't learn my lesson. I play my Teemo. I look at his cards. I look at the difference here, and I start bemoaning the fact that he has more than me. I play my Teemo. Again, not paying attention. Oh, look, there's that same 2 mana spell. And it's pretty much at this point where I knew I had lost the game, because I have nothing in hand. I just want to really quick, as the game is ending here, tally up all of the burn that I either missed or wasted throughout the game. I had a Decimate at the beginning that I mulliganed away, so that's 4 damage. I have my Aftershock and Get Excited right here, which is another 6 damage, so that's 10 right there. There was also 2 Ballistic Bots that died on the turn I played them, so that's another 2 damage. That is 12. That is how much health he has. If I had found a way to sneak in each and every one of those, I might have won this game. And that really, it goes to show that they add up over time. When you use it for removal and stuff like that in a burn deck like that, that was literally more than half of his health that I ended up wasting. And now I want to highlight something that's fairly in the same vein. although I did end up winning this game, I have a ballistic bot that's in my hand that I had from the very start of the game. If I had played him on turn 2, that would have been 2 extra ignitions that I would have gotten. And those 2 mana in my spell mana there are from turns 3 and 4, meaning that I ended both turns on which I would have gotten an ignition with an extra mana. So I had more than enough mana and time to play them. It also could have been something that would have ramped him up to a 3/3 if I hadn't been blocking with him, which could have come in handy during certain fights. Right here, it's not as big of a deal because my opponent wasn't playing very well, but had he been, I might have lost this because of that lost damage. Okay, so this one isn't a mistake I made. I'm not entirely certain what happened here, but my opponent, after making a really smooth move of leveling up the Callista in a single turn, for some reason plays Ravenous Butcher and kills her, leaving himself with a worse card. I'm not sure why this happened. For Agate, if you're out there, I would love to know exactly what happened. I'm assuming you just grabbed the wrong card. There's deck. This is a matchup I don't think I win. Damn. Alright. I'm interested to see where the mistake was there. Well, the short answer to that is it happened right here. Because what I do is against another aggro deck, I throw away Burn. The deck I'm playing is not very unit heavy. It's not built around the units. It's built around what those units do. So when I'm playing against another aggro deck, which lives off of dropping bigger units than I'm going to have, I should have kept all of that Burn because that was my win condition, and I got rid of the only one that I got. This game was a lot of fun. It was the last one of my recording session for this video, and it felt very evenly matched between the two of us, really coming down to our draw. He almost has a clutch win. He levels up his Swain here, and I'm starting to panic a little bit because I know that Swain can stun enemies when my opponent deals indirect damage to me, and his deck is built for that just like mine is, and my 1 damage that I need to kill him is tied to the 3/2 that's now a 3/1 here, and he plays this, it stuns him, and I go, I can't block with that. He's going to swing and he's going to hit me, and I start looking at the eye here going, how much damage is he going to do to me? And I don't notice something because I can't do anything. He's just waiting to finalize. That's 0 damage on his health. It says he's going to die too. And I don't know why. It's because he deals 3 damage to that, which kills him before the other ones swing. If he had moved Swain to the end, he would have won. If Swain had struck last, he would have killed me. So I just think it's really interesting, and it's important to notice the order you do things in because of that. Even though that wasn't my mistake, it is something that I noticed in post that I can learn from now. Alright, so that was just about everything that I have for today. I learned quite a bit while making this. I hope to learn more in the future for sure. I think that part of it was the learning curve of this deck in particular, and when I'm with a deck I'm more comfortable with, I'll learn more about the game in general rather than the specific deck, because it was definitely learning to play this deck more than anything else during this video. If you notice anything I didn't, go ahead and leave a comment so that I and everyone else watching can also learn from it if they don't already realize that. The last thing I want to do is to be glossing over mistakes and passing a mistake I made potentially as, you know, a correct move in any way. If there are any decks you want to see me play or any other modes or sorts of videos you want to see, just go ahead and let me know. Aside from that, drop a like and a subscribe if you want to keep seeing this sort of thing, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Good game, man. I feel bad. I feel like I feel so sorry. I feel so sorry for this guy. See what he's got. If he's got the guillotine or the... Damn. Alright. Wait. That was a tie?